What's up, guys? Long time no see. It's been a crazy couple of years, and so I haven't had time to do a lot of YouTube work. We've focused a little more on our other social media just because the main purpose of our social media is to drive our business. But we're not going to get into all of that today. Today we're going to do a long anticipated part 2 of YouTube's most popular DIY water-fed cart. So let's get into it. Switch the camera around here. Since I've uploaded, I did some changes. I got a new cart. This cart has some advantages over the other one. It is, first of all, one solid piece. The other cart came from an expandable cart. It was what was available at the time. And so it was a little bit rickety because of the joints. This cart here, no such problem. All one solid piece, much more solid unit, and has this nice bump out here to which we have attached wheels that makes it super easy to get in and out of the work van. And so that we love. Really appreciate everybody's feedback. So I wanted to get into a little bit about some common questions and misconceptions, and actually a mistake or two, or maybe misleading statements that I made about this cart. Point one, a lot of people express concern that these more budget or DIY items are going to have problems. I've been running these RO membranes now for close to 3 years, and they're still doing great. I have no complaints whatsoever. So that's one little point. There were people that addressed things like about PEX and potential issues with using that out in the sun. Obviously, I'm out here in the full sun as always. It has not been an issue. So that's another thing to consider. Don't worry about using PEX, obviously. Even if I had to replace all of the PEX, the joints are still good. It's only going to be a couple bucks. Not a big deal at all. And if it lasts several years like this, who cares, right? Another little thing I wanted to touch on, I alluded to the fact that my incoming water wasn't turned on all the way. And well, here's something to note about that. It doesn't totally matter. These things restrict flow like crazy, and that's all that cutting the valve back at the source is going to do. It's just going to restrict some flow potentially, but that pressure will still build. If you put your hand over the end of the hose, you'll find out even if it's only trickling, eventually the pressure will get to where you can't really hold it very well with your hand anymore. So the pressure is the main thing we're worried about, because so much flow restriction is happening inside this unit. It's really not that consequential. Another thing to note, a lot of people are under the impression that these carts are going to produce a lot more water than they do because it's double RO, right? It should produce twice as much. That's not really the case. It does produce more, but it is not totally double, especially if you run too much small hose. There's a really common misconception that these are somehow going to make it so you can run hundreds of feet of this water-fed pole hose and it's not going to be a problem. The reason you can't run hundreds of feet of water-fed pole hose is because of the incoming pressure. It is simply not high enough. And what happens with the smaller hose is it creates drag on the walls of the hose, and the more of it you have, the more drag there is, the less flow you can get, and there simply is not enough pressure without some kind of pump to overcome that. So here's what I do, and I'll show you how effective this is. I have 0G hose that you can get at Lowe's or on Amazon or whatever. I love this stuff because it's super light, probably why they call it 0G, and I can put a 100-foot roll in a 5-gallon bucket. I stuff it in there. I can do that quicker than I can roll up a hose reel, and it's never a problem. And so here I have 200 feet of 0G hose out here to my pole on the back of this job, and let's take a look at what we're dealing with there. I'm going to turn the water on really quick, and one-handed, you gotta love it. And so there we go. We have plenty of flow. plenty of flow. And that is because the Zero G hose is 5/8 inner diameter. Even though it's a small hose, it's very thin because of the hybrid construction. And so it can have 5/8 inner diameter. That's far less drag on the water flowing through it. And then if you just run enough of the small hose, let me zoom back out. If you just run enough of the small hose to keep your pole going, you can run as much hose as you'll ever need without having to move your cart everywhere. So that's the key. It's light, it eliminates the problems with flow, but still keep in mind you're only going to get like what? Not quite a gallon a minute in most cases. So don't feel bad if you don't get that. It's simply not needed. All right, so that's all I can think of at the moment. Again, really appreciate all the solid feedback from you guys, and we'll talk to you later.